Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today on another Barb Stamps video. Today we're going to talk about the Eastern Palace Premier Bundle. This is available to order on May 1st and it includes a lot of stuff, some amazing things, and we're going to go over it. If you purchase the Eastern Palace Premier Bundle from me, I will gift you with a tutorial to create 25 projects. All the projects use just the supplies that are in the bundle. So you don't need to have a lot of extra supplies. You'll need adhesive, scissors, Big Shot machine, of course, and possibly, you know, some circle punches or these circle framelits. And that's all you're going to need extra. So for everyone who purchases that from me in May, I will gift you with that tutorial. First off, what does the bundle include? The bundle includes the Eastern Beauty Stamp Set, the Eastern Medallions Thinlits die set. They don't come on this magnetic sheet. They come in our standard packaging. I just have them on my magnetic sheet for the video. The set of Eastern Gold vinyl stickers, which is two sets or two sheets of each of these sticker patterns. You get the tassels. You get 4 of all the colors. I've just used most of my Tranquil Tide, so you get the tassels also. You get 3 of our new in-color ink pads, Tranquil Tide, Fresh Fig, Lemon Lime Twist. You get a package of our Designer Series paper, the 12 by 12 sheets, 12 sheets in here. Here are the patterns, a couple of gold foil patterns, some dark patterns, and then the reverse of the dark patterns are these kind of vanilla patterns with the colored accents on them. Another color in this suite that the ink pad doesn't come with it is the Dapper Denim, but you may already have that since it is a in color from last year. You also get a cardstock pack. This is the Eastern Palace cardstock pack. It's got the Fresh Fig, Dapper Denim, and Tranquil Tide cardstocks in it. And as a free gift for purchasing the bundle, you get a package of our thick, very vanilla cardstock and a package of our medium vanilla envelopes. The thick vanilla cardstock is new to the catalog and it is just as amazing as our thick white. Okay, so the purpose of my video was to kind of show you the different dies in the die set, how they work, because there are a lot of different ways you can put these dies together. Excuse me. A lot of the dies coordinate with some of our current punches. 2-inch, 1 3/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/8, 1 1/4, and 1-inch punches. They would also coordinate with our layering circle framelits. So there's a lot of things you can do with these really cool dies. They also coordinate with some of the images in the stamp set, and we're going to talk about that as well. So I guess first off, let's just get the dies out, and I'll just kind of show you what die does what. Let's talk about this kind of flower medallion first. It almost looks like a sunflower. And I have seen some cards done where this is actually cropped out of, say, crushed curry or daffodils light. A couple of them stacked together, and they would create a sunflower. Okay, so at first glance, this particular die will cut out this pattern right here. Okay, so it's designed to be attached to the cardstock. It doesn't come out. However, you can take a pair of scissors and snip all of these little connectors off very easily. I just slide my scissor right behind the petals, and then you can just snip that off. Very, 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 very simple. And then you're left with a very cool medallion. So you can leave this in the cardstock, or you can cut it with your scissors. Whoops, I missed one. Okay. Oh, good Lord, I missed 2. What was I doing? I was probably talking too much. That's an issue with me sometimes. Okay, so you can cut it out. And like I said, if you stack a couple of these together, it will make what looks like a sunflower. Now that's cool by itself. However, if you bring in some of these circle dies here, you can create even more images. So like this circle die here was cropped in the middle. So you've got this one on the outside, this one on the inside, and of course you can run them through together. You can nest them together and run them through the Big Shot, which is exactly what I did to create this medallion here. Now I'm going to cut that one out for you, and I'll be right back. So you're left with that. So that is a very cool medallion also. So we have this one all by itself, this one done with one of the circle dies cropped out of the middle. Now there are 2 circle dies in this set. Okay, you've got one that creates that pattern and one that creates this pattern. And I've got that one right here. So this particular circle die was layered in this medallion when it ran through the Big Shot, and it created that. So we've already got 3 different medallions using some of these dies. What if we added another little die to the center of these medallions? What's it going to look like then? Well, let me show you. All right, so here's that same large medallion flower cropped with the 2 circles. You can see they're totally different there. And then we added 2 of these little dies to the centers. So check out these dies. Look how cool those are to the centers of these medallions. So now there's like 5 medallions. But wait, what if I only want this medallion cropped out of the middle of the big one? Well, here you go. So I've got another medallion with just the middle cropped out. So already I've got 6 different shapes, and if I did the other die on this one, I mean, I could have 7. There's just numerous amounts of shapes you can create with just these few dies. And that's just the big medallion. This one here. That's all the images you can get with just this one die. All right, let's put those aside. And why don't we talk about these circle dies? Well, just running them through the machine will give you these images here. This is one of them right here, and this is the other one right here. These then can be punched out with our 2-inch circle punch. So I can just bring my 2-inch circle punch in here, center that, and crop it out. And then I have a die cut circle. I can do the same with this one. And then I have die cut circles. So I could just leave those on my cardstock. I could put a whole bunch of those on a piece of cardstock, and then I could put some pattern paper behind there, and I would have like windows that would show through. Or I can cut them out and add those to my project. Now this one, you can see I added one of the middles, one of these little circle middles to the middle of that. Here's a circle middle right here. I can punch this out too with one of my punches. I can use a 1 1/4 inch punch and punch that out. That one will also crop really nicely with the 1 1/8 inch circle framelit. So look at those circles. Those are amazing. And that's just one of them. That's just one of the circles. This is another pattern. I can crop that with my 2-inch circle punch. Like so. This is the same one without the middle. So you can see. This is plain. That one's cropped out with this middle die. So that's even more designs that you can create with these things. It's just, the possibilities are just endless with these things. Here's the other small circle. Bring that in and show you that pattern. So we've done these 2 circles, these 2 circles, and this large medallion. So far we've used 5 of these dies, and look what we've created just by using 5 of the dies. Look at all those shapes we've created with 5 of those dies. That's amazing. But we have more dies to go over, so let's move on. All right, let's move on to this big die right here. This really cool looking medallion. You can just die cut it out of a piece of cardstock and put that on your project just like it is, and then you can see what's behind it. If you clip those out, you're gonna get this. Here's my sheet. All you need to do is just snip off all of these little tiny connectors, and then you can have yourself a really cool medallion, another type of medallion. So we have that. That's just by running this through the Big Shot one time, clipping it out. That's the shape we get. Of course, you can layer things inside there. You could crop one of the greetings and some of the other stamps from the set, crop it with a circle punch, and bam, there's a greeting for your card. Or you can use some of the other dies that we've already used, these circle dies, and you can add stuff to the center of these medallions. Isn't that cool? So this one here simply uses one of the circles, and it was just laid in there and came right out. This one uses both the large circle and then this small little circle here to create this amazing medallion. So from this you can get this, and then this, and then you also have this little guy here. And here's another sheet that I did where I have the plain medallion, and then I have this circle design on the inside and this circle design on the inside to create this medallion. So look at these. I have two. They almost look the same, but yet they don't because they have different circles inside of them. So these are all different medallions, different circles, different centers. It's just amazing what you can do with these dies. Check that out. You can take your medallion, crop it, but don't actually trim it out of the circle. Lay it on some designer series paper and look at that cool stuff you have popping through the windows. Amazing. All right, let's move on and let's talk about these two dies right here. All right, here's the sheet that I die cut with all the dies. So you can see we just have a die that crops out a star shape. Whoops, I taped them to the back so they wouldn't come off. Hee hee. Okay, so that one just cuts out a star. Cool? Yes. You could also layer a greeting in the middle of that. Here's one. And that's pretty cool. But if you add this die to the center, when you cut it out, you get this little guy right here. Okay, so then you get this shape here. You're going, yeah, that's not really that cool. But yet, look at this. It cuts these little petals, but it doesn't cut them all the way. It just cuts them down to the center. So you just pop these up, and now look at what you have. A 3D flower. And here's that particular die on the front of a card. How nifty. Just pops it right up. I've got another one of the dies in the center there. So cool. So you've got that one. So we have that and that so far. Then here you have this medallion all by itself. Well, let's punch that out and see what we get. I'm going to use a 1 3/4 inch circle punch, and I'm going to try to get just in the middle there. Look at that. Now we have a circle with those cool raised petals that we can add to a project. Nifty, nifty, nifty. What if you stuck that on a piece of cardstock? You could see the fabulous colors behind there. So there's another shape that we can create with that die. This one here, I cropped it just like this, but then I also cropped this smaller die out of the center. So you could have this look. You could put another piece of paper behind that, have that show through. So there's another shape. And then we get this little guy that has a matching stamp that goes with it. Here's another thing that we can do with these two kind of flower dies. I'm going to put this sticker on a piece of cardstock and then we'll die cut it and I'll show you how cool that is. Okay, let's put that sticker on a piece of dapper denim. Just going to use a piercing tool to kind of lift that off. Get that stuck down there. One thing about these stickers is they do stick right away and they're not forgiving, so make sure you have it where you want it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to the Big Shot machine. I'm going to lay this die on top of it, this die on top of it. I'm going to cut it out and then I'm going to bring it back and show you how it looks. So hang on. Okay, so I've die cut it. So we'll take the dies off. Oh, take that one out and then we'll just kind of pop this one out. So here's the medallion sticker. Look at this. Because of the way that die works, it is going to perfectly cut out these little flower petals. And then you can just pop them up and you can add this to your project. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Loving it. I just happen to have a card that this would look really nifty on. So why don't we just, I've got a dimensional on there. Oh, check that out. Dapper denim with that gold silver, or that gold vinyl sticker. All right, moving on, let's focus on these two kind of squarish dies, okay? Here's my sheet of those squarish dies. So we've got the die that just cuts a square. Kind of a cool looking square, but a square. Just like so, just a square. But if you add this to the center of the square, you get this little guy right here. So that die cuts, it doesn't cut all the way to the circle though, it just cuts, and then it's got some little connectors right there. So you can just pop these up, and there's a score line, so you could use your fingers and bring those pieces up. Pretty cool, just like so. Lay that on your project, throw a greeting in the middle, and you've got a great greeting. So it'll cut out that shape. So we've got that one. But what if we took these little circle dies and we added them to the center of that? Look what we get now. So I used this die, and then I could go back in and I'll cut it out with this die. So I just cropped those out with the circles in the middle, and look what I get now. I get a really cool kind of squarish circle with a die cut middle. So you could add something behind that die cut middle and it'll show through. In fact, let's just get something. All right, I cropped a circle with some of our Designer Series paper. Check that out. You could stick that behind there and then you can see through it. So we've got those two designs. You can also take this little medallion, well, we'll take the plain one because I've got the sample to show you. And you can actually bring these to the front instead, the outside edges to the front. Kind of pinch those where they connect right here. Get those all pinched together. And then you'd have those raised up and this part flat. And let me show you what I did with that. So here's the little piece that I created where I just popped those up. And do you see that stamped image on there? The stamp set has this image here that you can stamp on this and then you can die cut it out. So that is also awesome for coordination. This one also has the coordinating die, and I did it on this card so you can see the stamped image right around the edges of those petals. So those two stamps coordinate with these two dies. Pop those pieces up, add a dimensional to my card, and then I would have a totally different look than if these were popped up. And you might notice these little dies in the corner. Yep, they come in the set too. These three dies right here. We've got this little tiny medallion with a coordinating stamp. I've got this little stamp right here. So I stamped it and then I cropped it with this little die. I've got this little tiny squarish image with the polka dot in the center right there. And yep, it's got a die. And then this little cool thing, I'm not sure what you'd even call that, but it's got a stamp right here. So I stamped it and cropped it out. So there's those stamps that coordinate with these small little dies. And then there's one more tiny little die that also has a coordinating image. And I just cropped those with this little tiny die. Aren't those adorable? The stamp set also comes with these circular images. Those can also be punched out with our circle punches. So we've got this little circular image here. That one can be cropped with our 1 3/8 inch circle punch. This medium sized here can be cropped with the 2-inch circle punch. And the large one can be cropped with the 2.5-inch circle punch. And here's a card that I did just using those stamps, just those 3 circle stamps and then that little square. Cool, cool background. Loving the lemon lime twist. Here's one of those fancy dies, and I do have the stamped image that coordinates with the die there. Little greeting in the center. Your bundle also includes these gold vinyl stickers, and then they also, check that out. Yep, you've seen those before. We have dies that match those. There are some border stickers that you can just peel off and stick on. We've got a bunch of these medallions. This one here matches or coordinates with our 1 3/4 inch circle punch. This one in the center, this big flower, also 1 3/4 inch circle punch. These smaller ones here, what is this, a 1 1/4 or possibly a 1-inch circle punch would fit behind there. Pretty dang close. So you can use these circle punches, add these cool accents along with these accents that use the dies. So I mean, this whole set is just amazing. There are so many things you can do with it. I'm doing a big swap and I'm going to have a bunch of cards with that. So I will have a video for that. Ooh, if you've been liking what I've been showing you so far, please give it a thumbs up because you know how much I love that. You can also stamp on some of these die cuts. In my first example here, I've got the large round medallion that I cropped out of very vanilla cardstock, and I did crop out one of the small circular dies. Now this one, you can see I put a Sharpie mark on this. This marks these grooved lines right here. So this little piece of the die cut right here, because I sometimes want to make sure that it goes in the right direction, so I just put a little Sharpie mark on the back of that. That tells me, you know, which way these particular lines are going to go. Anyway, so I cropped it with this, put that little circle in the middle, and then check this out. I used a bunch of the stamps that come in the set. So I've got this little kind of small florally image here. I've got this little guy here. And then I've got this piece right here. So this piece right here, I just went underneath all the way around. the little tiny flower right down in here, the little square with the polka dot right in the center, and then this little guy, look at that. It just stamps right in there beautifully. So stamping with these is also amazing. Okay, this one here, so I used the Squarish die cuts. So we totally cropped the Very Vanilla piece with both of these nested together so that I was able to lift up the edges here. But check that out. The edges of these that pop up, this stamp fits right in there, so you can add detail with that as well. And then I just did a circle, one of the dies, the small or the circle dies. This one here, cropped out, punched out, and then just added to the center. All right, what else do we got here? Ooh, we've got this one that uses the flowers. So I've got the large one that cropped the entire thing out. I nested this one in the middle, and then I was able to pop up the petals. And then you can see this little flower image right here fits perfectly in those petals. I also cropped another color, glued it on there so you can see that under the petals when it's on my card, and a little thing in the middle. And so here's another one of those where I cropped out the star, and then I added this little flourish to the center of all of it after I stamped this image right here. So the stamps coordinate with the dies, coordinate with the punches, coordinate with everything. Gosh, I think that's it. I think I've showed you what all the dies can do, with how they coordinate with some of our punches, how they coordinate with the stamps. Again, it's just incredible the things you can do with this bundle. So be sure to get your bundle May 1st, shoppingwithbarb.com. I will have a free gift that will go along with your purchase if you use my host code for the month. And as always, subscribe to my channel so you can be notified when I post new videos. And everybody have a wonderful, wonderful day.